Welcome back to the Choose, Ask, Build Challenge. I am so excited to welcome you here, to welcome you back. We got an amazing session here today, and I could not be more excited for you for being here, right now, live. Now, for those of you who are here today, first of all, I want to make sure that you can hear me okay, you can see me okay. Let me know in the comments. Let me know that you are alive, that you are here, that you're paying attention, that you're ready to rock, you're ready to roll. And once you've done that and you let me know that you can hear me okay, you can see me okay, I want to invite you, for all of you who have gone live here inside the group. So you've done a live video, you've shared your why, you've put yourself out there, you've had the courage and the grit to put yourself out there. I want to invite you and encourage you to type the word live here inside the comment thread. So if you have used the Facebook Live feature, if you've gone live here inside the group, let me know by typing in the word live. That's the first thing. Second thing is, for those of you who have gone through the process of identifying your why, your big reason why you're here, I want to invite you in all capital letters to type in the word why with a big exclamation on the back of that. So let me know that you've gone through the process of doing your why. Yvonne's gone live, Jane's gone live, Greg has gone live, yes, Wanda's gone live, Samir's gone live, Shannon's gone live, and you guys are awesome. For all you who've gone through the process of going live and you've shared your big reason why, let me know inside the comments. For those of you who have gone through the process of figuring out what your type is, your entrepreneur business type, go ahead and in the comment there, type the word type, all capital letters, T-Y-P-E, type, to let me know that you've gone through that process. We're just checking off all the boxes and doing all the good stuff here. So let me know about that. If you typed, if you figured out your entrepreneur business type, type the word type. If you have gone through the process of identifying your who, going through the 5 market must-haves, type the word who, W-H-O, in all capital letters to let me know that you're just trucking along, that you're making great progress here. I love this. So Robert says type, Guillaume says type, Laura says type. I love this. Dwayne says why, my freedom. Diane says type. Awesome. So if you've gone through the process of coming up with your who, type in the letter who, the words who. And last but not least, if you did yesterday's work, yesterday's homework, figuring out where your market is located, go ahead and type in the word where, W-H-E-R-E, all capital letters, type in the word where, because again, what we're doing here is we are answering the 5 most important questions that when it comes to building and growing and scaling an online business. And we've answered several of these questions already. We've taken time to answer the question of why you're here, why you're doing what you're doing. We've taken time to answer the question of around you and your entrepreneurial type. We've taken time to answer the question of who, as in who you're going to serve. We've taken time to answer the question of where is this market that you're going to be identifying and serving and working with online. And today we're going to be talking about the next question on our list of questions, which is what? Today is where the rubber meets the road. Today is where we start to identify inside this market that you've chosen, what is the problem, what is the opportunity that you're going to be focusing in on to grow your business. This is the Choose, Ask, Build process. Choose your market. We ask that market what they want. We're going to be doing it in an innovative, unconventional way here today. And last but not least, take all this information, all this intelligence, so that you can build the business of your dreams, and do it by building, as we have it here on the t-shirt, building it on the back of a quiz funnel. So everything that we've been doing up until this point is crescendoing, it's leading up, it's all building, it's all taking one step and then another, and then the next one, so that we can set yourself up for massive success. All right, so this Choose, Ask, Build process, it's the same process I followed, guys. It's the same process I followed to go from literally starting from scratch, $370 in my first business in business, $24,000 a month within 18 months, $117,000 a year in less than 3 years. And I did it by going into 23 different niche markets. I've shared some of these markets with you. And in these markets, I built audiences of 78,000 customers 103,000 customers, 260,000 email subscribers, 30,000 customers, 535,000 email subscribers. And, for me, my background, I started like we all start. I started completely from scratch. I grew up working class. I was the first in my family to go to college, as I shared in my story yesterday, that I studied neuroscience at Brown University at the Ivy League level, became really fascinated with consumer psychology, human psychology, market psychology. And after college, I had an opportunity to work on Wall Street in New York City, and then later spent about 5 years living and working in China. In China, I was working when the world financial crisis hit in 2008, and the company that I was working for was about to go under, and I was about to lose my job and lose everything that I had worked so hard for. And it was in a situation that's not unlike the environment that we're in today, where so many people have been hit hard, so many people have been out of work, so many people have lost their livelihoods, have had to shift and pivot and tweak and change, and I was in that exact situation in 2008. So I left my job to start my business. So my big goal was to make $10,000 a month. I said, someday maybe if I can make $10,000 a month, that would be my dream. And you can see here in this post, 10 years later, 2018, we had crossed $10 million a year in revenue. And we did it using this process: choose, ask, build, repeat. It's a story that's been featured in national media, in all sorts of different channels, from the Wall Street Journal, Entrepreneur, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Inc., Los Angeles Times, on national television, NBC News, Fox Business News. But more importantly, it's now a process that literally thousands of people have followed themselves in market after market. And I've shared some of these markets, like Cindy in the art market, Neer in the back pain market, Charlie, the guitar market, Will, tennis market, Kathy, dog market, Janine in the cheerleading market, John in the blogging market, Dana in the parenting market. And people are using this process right now as we speak. Whether you right now are looking to generate your first sale ever, just like Steve, whether you're looking to generate your first multi-$1,000 sale ever, like May, whether you're looking to blow up your brand new program and explode your success, like Donna with 93 sales of her brand new program, people like Beryl, who's generated over 50 sales in just a matter of days, or people like Lisa, who are generating over $12,000 in a single weekend, people like Deirdre, whose sales are roaring, and people like Morgan, who just recently had a $10,000 day. Now, for those of you who are here, maybe joining because you have an interest in building a quiz funnel, well, I've got some good news for you, because the work that we're doing this week in this challenge is like the foundation work. We're laying the foundation, guys, for building your quiz funnel. And we're going to be kicking off the process of creating and designing and coming up with your quiz funnel beginning next week, when we kick off the quiz funnel workshop. And in that workshop, we're going to go through dozens of quizzes, and we're going to go through the process of coming up with your quiz. But the work we do today, as you're going to see here in just a moment, is going to set you up for success as we go through different quizzes in all sorts of different markets, like the retirement market, the guitar market, the weight loss market, the success market, so the golf market, the public speaking market. And we're going to be going through the process of creating a quiz funnel. So if we come back to me, what we're doing here is we're setting you up for success so that you can build a quiz funnel to generate customers and leads and clients in your business. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing here today and get through the last few bits of housekeeping before we dive right in. So, friendly reminder for those of you who are here for the first time, I want to remind you, number one, that every day there's homework. Every day I'm going to be giving you an assignment. Every day I'm going to be encouraging you and inviting you and imploring you to take micro action, because this is ultimately what's going to be your success. If you just sit back and relax and watch this and do nothing, well, you're going to be exactly where you started when you began this challenge. You're not going to be any better off. If you take action every single day, I have walked this path. I have guided thousands of entrepreneurs to the summit of the mountain. And I can take you to that summit, but I can't take the steps for you. I can't make your legs move. I can only show you the way and guide you down the path. So if you're with me, if you want to climb to the top of this mountain, if you want to get to the summit, I can get you there, but you've got to put the work in as well. So every single day, there's going to be an assignment, and it's going to be a micro assignment designed to get you going, to get you to the next step in the process. So every day there's going to be homework. I'm going to be giving some prizes away. I've been talking about some of the things things I'll be doing. I'll be giving away some Amazon gift cards as we get a little bit deeper into this challenge. The way you have eligibility to win one of these prizes is the more you participate, more chances you've got to win. So post your homework in the group. That counts for a lot. Use those hashtags, my why, my who, my where, my type, all those things we talked about yesterday. Participate here live on the training. When I ask you a question, jump in, give me your response. The more you participate, the more chances you have to win. All right, so notifications. If you're wondering how to get notified of all the good stuff that's happening, we have a notification service set up. Go to chooseaskbill.com/text. You go to that link, it's going to take you to a page that looks a little something like this, and we will send you a text message whenever there is a new live session that happens, and I will also text you my notes from every single day. So if you want to get my personal private notes, I'll send you a text message via my cell phone with the notes for the day, and I'll send that to you, as well as some cool bonuses that we'll be doing along the way as well. All right, as far as finding stuff, just friendly reminder where to find everything inside the group. Bear with me 1 second as I pull up a screen to do that, and we're going to get into the good stuff here in just another second. So just a friendly reminder, I saw the question came up for some of you who are just joining us here live for the very first time. The way you find stuff is you go here. So when you go into the group, your view is going to look a little something like this. You're going to go here at the top, and it's at the top also if you're on your mobile device. You're going to see here where it says Guides. Guides is going to give you the place where you catch up on everything that you missed. So the welcome video, day 1, day 2, day 3, so on and so forth. It's all going to be right here. Another thing I want to encourage you to do is to meet the team. Of course, to create something like this experience and everything that we're going to be doing going forward, and this is, by the way, just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. We have an entire team of course advisors, of marketing experts, of coaches that are in our worlds, in the Ask Method Company team, who are here supporting you along the way. You can get a chance to meet some of the amazing men and women who will be supporting you on your journey beginning this week and beyond. If you want to know when stuff is coming up, once again, go back up to the top here, and if you go to the More button, click that and that, you're going to see a little drop down that says Events. Click on Events. Make sure that you mark yourself as registered, as going to every single upcoming event, like the one that is literally about to, that's already happened, it's happening right now, and what's coming up around the corner. So this one's happening right now. This is what's happening tomorrow. We'll get some more good stuff coming as well. All right, come back to me. I think that covers it for all our announcements. Let's now recap where we've been to get us all up to speed, get our heads in the game, and let's recap what we've covered so far. So, again, we began by identifying your why, right? Hashtag my why, your big reason why. Why are you here? Why are you trying to build this business? What's your reason? Is it to achieve financial freedom? Is it to make an impact, leave a legacy? What's your personal reason why? That's the first thing that we started to answer. Next, we then identified your type, your entrepreneur business type. And to do that, we use these two tools that I have here on my screen. First is your entrepreneur type. Remember, there are 4 of them. Upper left-hand quadrant, we have what's called the mission-based entrepreneur, MB, mission-based entrepreneur. Mission-based entrepreneur is someone who is drawn to a mission that they are called to serve. So we have a mission-based entrepreneur. Next up, we have in the upper right-hand quadrant, see if you guys can beat me to it, we have the passion-based entrepreneur, which we use the initials PB to represent. Next up, we have the opportunity-based entrepreneur. So opportunity-based entrepreneur, entrepreneurs who see opportunity everywhere. You may be one of these people. And we use the letters OB to represent you if you're in that case. And last but not least, we have the undecided entrepreneur, which is the person who is, if you're this type of person, it means that you know you want to be your own boss, start your own thing. You're just not sure what that might look like. And it's totally fine no matter what type of entrepreneur you are and where you're starting right now. Next up, we have your business type. And when we identify your business type, we first and foremost have 4 types of businesses. And you want to identify which of these quadrants are you going to start in. Which of these quadrants are you going to be focusing on next? Because as one of my mentors once taught me, it's okay to be a serial entrepreneur, meaning you're doing things one after the other. It's not okay to be a simultaneous entrepreneur, meaning trying to do 2 businesses at the same time. And I saw a few of you sneaking in the idea to do that. I'm going to say, no. You focus on one thing at a time. All things that require great work require focus and doing things all at once. All right. So let's take a look at our 4 business types. Beginning with the upper left-hand quadrant, we have what's called the product focus quadrant, which is where you're selling a physical product or a product that reaches, thousands of people that you might not know the names of your customers, but you're reaching a large number of clients or customers in a relatively small way. It's in contrast to the next type, which is what we call the client-focused quadrant. Client-focused means that you're working with a small number of clients in a deep way. You're a coach, you're a consultant, you're working one-on-one or in a small group with individuals. Next up, we have what's called the membership-focused quadrant, MF. Membership-focused means you've got an online membership or community that you are charging money for, that you are serving a community of people over an extended period of time. And last but not least, we have what's called EF, which is the event-focused quadrant, where you are working with people in a short, concentrated period. There's a start, there's an end, and then you move on. All right, next up, we identified what we call the 5 market must-haves, right? So 5 market must-haves, and the hashtag here was MyWho, identifying the 5 things that you want to be looking for in your market. Who remembers the first one? Market must-have number 1. Let's see what we got. Market must-have number 1. Who remembers the answer to this one here? Market must-have number 1, as I get the right pen that I want to use. I think I want to use this one here. Market must-have number 1 is, of course, an evergreen market. It's still a little too fat. Let's go a little bit skinnier. Evergreen market. Evergreen market means a market that was here 10 years ago. It's going to be here 10 years from now, and it is not going away. Second, you want what's called an enthusiast market, right? Enthusiast market means that you want a market that is one where people remain consumers in the market for years and years and years to come, like the dog market, like the orchid market, and so on and so forth. Next up, it's not enough to be in an evergreen enthusiast market. You also want to make sure you've got what? This one is one that I know a lot of us struggled with. I saw the comments, I saw the homework. This one is one that a lot of us struggle with, which is finding an urgent problem in the context of that enthusiast market. And I want to be clear about something right here. So if we come to me, please, what I want to be clear about here is that you want a market that has an urgent problem. This doesn't mean that you are creating artificial urgency where it doesn't exist. You can enhance natural urgency that is already there, but you want urgency that is present. Like, for example, in the retirement planning market, there's a natural sense of urgency because as people approach their retirement, and for anyone who's been in this situation, I'm sure you can relate, there's this feeling of, oh my gosh, like I got to make sure I'm ready to retire, that I've made financial arrangements, I've made lifestyle arrangements, I've set myself up for success so I can enjoy my retirement. There's a ticking clock that's naturally there. There's a natural urgency to solving that problem. If you are helping people with who are newborn parents, there's a natural clock that's going to happen. The baby's coming whether you're ready or not, right? So there's this urgency that is present that you don't have to artificially create. It's already there. So when you find a market that you have to create the urgency yourself, it's like paddling against the current. It's like paddling your canoe against the waters and you got to work 10 times as hard to get any traction. Why make your life so difficult? Find a market, and there are literally thousands of them in the world where the current's at your back, where you can just let the current of the market propel you forward to your destination and where you want to go. So don't overcomplicate it here. Find that urgent problem. Next up, you also want to make sure that you've got future problems, meaning that there are other things that you can sell people in your market. Once you've solved that first urgent market, that first urgent problem right here, you set yourself up for success as a person's trusted advisor in that space for life. So now you are the person that they look to when it comes to financial planning, when it comes to parenting their child, when it comes to caring for their dog, when it comes to their orchids, whatever category of life that you might help people in your business. And last but not least, we have what we call PWMs, players with money. You want to make sure that you are in a market filled with PWMs, people who can afford your products and services. And so we have a simple little test that we use. You don't have to overthink it. This is one of these things that you don't have to let analysis paralysis creep in. Don't overthink it. Motion breeds clarity. Remind yourself that if you get stuck along the way, I want you to repeat these 3 words. Write them down. Just keep swimming. You get stuck along the way, when you're tossed in the water and you're wondering, gosh, is my market going to get me to where I want to go? All you need to do is just keep swimming. You just keep swimming until you get to your destination. There's no such thing as failure. There's only a such thing as giving up. So we got 3 things that we do. We want to know, is this a green light market, a yellow light market, or a red light market? If it checks off 5 of the boxes, then it is considered a green light market. If it checks off 4 of these boxes, it's considered yellow. Proceed with caution. And if it checks off only 3 of these boxes, then you want to rethink your market. Okay. So now we've passed this first test. We've identified we have ideally a green light market. So now we got to shift our attention to making sure that we can find these people online. So we want to make sure that we can find these individuals. And this was the work that we did yesterday. So we start by beginning with, for example, Google. We go to Google, and we in Google are looking for specifically, that's not what I want to do. We're looking for forums in Google. We're going to Google and we're looking for forums on our topic. Are people naturally congregating around our area, in our market? Again, market is defined as a group of people who share a common conflict. All right, first things first. Then we go to Facebook. Facebook is another place, like we are right now, where people congregate, and you can use the power of Facebook groups to identify, are people sorting themselves into groups and getting together around this specific topic. If you're in a B2B market, you can consider using LinkedIn as a source of groups as well. If you're in a business market, we looked at a few examples of that yesterday. So if you look at LinkedIn groups, Quora is another great option, especially if you're in some type of knowledge business where you're helping people answer questions and solve problems. Quora is a great solution, and you can look for topics on Quora. And last but not least, we have the 5th and final source, which is meetup.com. And Meetup is great if you're specifically looking for local events. So you are in a local market and you serve, people in your town, in your city, in your local area. Meetup is a great place to see if people in your local market are congregating around this specific topic. All right, so what we're going to do now, pop quiz. For those of you who did the homework, I am curious. For those of you who used Google in some way, shape, or form to find one of your top 3 places online, which we're going to be using here today, type the word Google inside the chat. So if you've used Google, type the word Google inside the chat. I want to take a quick little survey here, quick little pop quiz to see kind of how we break down as a group. So if you've used Google, type in the word Google. If you've used Facebook and that's where you found your 3 groups, your 3 places, type in the word Facebook. If you are using or have used LinkedIn for your homework, type in LinkedIn. If you've used Quora, type in Quora, and if you've used meetup.com, type in Meetup. And I want to get a sense for who we are and how we're breaking down. So I love it here. So Sally says Google, Dee says Google, Scott says Google, Caltech says Google, Larry says Google, Brian says Google. We got a good Google group here. LinkedIn and Facebook says Cass. Laurel says Google. Looking at this, quite a few of us, interestingly, using Google, which is pretty exciting. Nina says Google. Let's see. Anybody use Facebook? Google and Meetup, says Diane. Look at this, Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn, says Denise. So good breakdown. Diva, Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn so far. D. Coffee says Quora. Love you, love it, love it. Perry says Google. Sri says Google and Quora. And Candace says Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn a little bit. Awesome. All right. Well, the good news is this. For those of you who have done all of your homework so far up until this point, we are going to be using this homework to explore the next answer to the very most important question that we're focusing on here today, which is the question of what. As in, what is the opportunity in your market? What is the unmet need? Where is there demand that is already existing in your market? What is the problem that people are naturally expressing that they want a solution to? Because, as you remember from yesterday, at the end of the day, all you need to be successful in business, the single most important thing is to have a starving crowd. An audience, a crowd of people who have already told you that this is what they're struggling with, because then all you need to do is just step in with a solution, right? You don't have to be the best cook in the world, but if you've got a starving crowd of people outside, they're going to eat your cooking, right? It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be food. And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for pre-existing demand. And now that you've identified that there are groups of people congregating in the market that you've identified, now what that tells us is there's a critical mass of people that we can explore. What are the conversations naturally taking place? What are the pain points that naturally exist? What are the challenges that people are naturally expressing? What are the struggles that people are having? And today we're going to talk about exactly how to do that. And for many of you here today, this is where things are going to start to come together. Things are going to start to click. The light bulbs are going to go off and you're going to start to see, oh my gosh, I am seeing opportunities right here in front of me, and all I need to do is execute on these opportunities and you are going to be successful. All right, so let's talk a little bit about that, because at the end of the day, the process of succeeding in business is really simple. All you need to do is just ask people what they want and give it to them. But the problem with that is you can't just ask people what they want, because people don't know what they want. In fact, whenever I bring up this idea of asking what people want, it usually evokes a famous quote in people's minds. It's attributed to Henry Ford, and it goes a little something like this: if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have told me faster, fill in the blank, faster horses, right? Or what about Steve Jobs, who's famous for saying, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Now, the reason why these quotes ring true is because they are true. People don't know what they want, but they do know what they don't want. You see, we're very good at identifying the problems in our life. We're very good at identifying the things that we want to change. We might not know what the solution to that problem is. We might speculate on what we think the solution is, but we know that when we are experiencing some kind of pain, challenge, struggle, or discomfort in our lives, we can identify it with pinpoint accuracy, and we can articulate what that pain is. Now, it's just up to us to listen to what the market's already telling us. Because if you know how to ask, if you know how to listen, the market will tell you everything you need to know. You don't have to guess. You don't have to come up with some new brilliant idea that you spend millions of hours in your she shed or your man cave figuring out. You don't have to spend any time doing that. You just need to listen to what the market is telling you. And what I'm going to teach you how to do today is how to pay attention to the right information. How to separate the signal from the noise, how to identify exactly what your market wants, and not what they say they want, but what they really want, and most importantly, what they really want to buy, what they are willing to spend money on to solve. And there's a formula for this, and I'm going to demystify the entire process. All right, so if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's talk about what we're going to cover here today, which is answering the question of what. And I want to begin with the first topic, which is something I call the myth of the FAQ. So we call this the myth of the FAQ. And you might want to take some notes out if you haven't done so already, because we're going to be adding to all the great work that we've done here together, and talk about this concept that we call the myth of the FAQ. So what does that mean exactly? Myth of the FAQ. Myth of the FAQ goes a little something like this. So I learned early in my life in business that not all feedback is created equal. Myth of the FAQ. In fact, I read a story years ago about a company that I am a huge student of. I'm a huge fan of this company. And it's a company that you've probably heard of. It's a company called Lego. Now, you may or may not know this about me, but I am what we call an A-fole, an adult fan of Lego. And here I have in front of me the Lego set that my two boys and I are literally in the middle of building right here, right now. It's a giant treehouse set, and we've just gotten it started, as you can see here. It's quite a big set. The treehouse is going to be quite large when it's finished, but I wanted to put it here to just have it as a reminder. Now, what does Lego have to do? By the way, any Lego fans in this group right here, type the word Lego inside the chat. I'm curious. I'm a huge adult fan of Lego. My kids are K-fulls, kid fans of Lego. One of the keynotes, one of the most memorable keynotes that I've ever delivered in my entire life was at the largest Lego convention in the country. It's called Brickfest Live. There were over 40,000 people who came to this event. It was at the Philadelphia Convention Center. It was massive, and it was one of the most fulfilling things in my life to be able to talk about Lego and have some fun. So I'm a huge fan of Lego. I'm a huge Lego fan. And what many people don't realize is that the company Lego, of course, is incredibly successful today, but in the early 2000s, at the turn of the century, Lego almost went out of business. And the reason why they almost went out of business, is because in their quest for growth, they reached out to their market, and they asked their market what they wanted. And so, they reached out, they asked the market what they wanted, and they were trying to figure out why people weren't buying Lego. Like, how could they expand the market? Any guesses on what they discovered from the feedback? Any guesses? Just go ahead and put it in the comments. What do you think people said when they said why they weren't buying Lego? Lego, the company, was looking for the answer to this question. They put out a survey. They asked their market. So they chose the market, asked it, and then built it. They asked the market, and the market came back and said, Lego is too hard. Lego is too hard. It takes too much time. People said, we don't want to spend all this time building something. We just want to play with it right away. So Lego said, okay, no problem. We'll create some sets that are easier to build. So they created these sets that the pieces were fused together, that you could build them more quickly. You could get up and running in a matter of minutes as opposed to hours to get them built. They released these sets to the general public, and then Lego almost went out of business. Sales were dismal. They completely fell off the face of the earth. And in one last-ditch effort, they went back to their markets and they asked, how did we get things wrong? But instead of asking everybody, what they focused on was a tiny little segment of their market. They focused on the A-fulls and K-fulls. They focused on their most hardcore demographic, the Lego diehards. And what they found when they reached out to this segment of the market was something very different altogether. What they found was that people said, we don't want easier Lego sets. We want Lego sets that are harder. We want sets that are going to take us days to build, weeks to build. We don't want sets that we can build in just a few minutes. We want sets that we can just play forever, take forever to build. And so in one last-ditch effort, Lego decided to launch their single biggest set that they'd ever created, a set that had over 1,000 pieces. It was unheard of at the time. They launched the set, and overnight, the set sold out. In fact, it sold out so quickly that people started putting it on eBay at double the price, triple the price, quadruple the price. So then Lego came out with a set with 2,000 pieces, with 4,000 pieces, with 5,000 pieces. They built a Millennium Falcon with over 7,000 pieces, a Harry Potter set with over 6,000 pieces. They then released, most recently, the Colosseum in Rome with just under 10,000 pieces. And today, Lego is the single most valuable toy company in the entire world. And it is one of the top 5 most valuable brands of any product category in the entire world. And they sell one product, a plastic little brick that you can see right here. So what's the lesson of that here? It's what we call the myth of the FAQ. So if we go to our iPad here, the myth of the FAQ, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that depth of response is actually more important than frequency of response. See, we have this tendency to think that in this equation of ask people what they want and give it to them, that you want to pay attention to the most frequently asked questions, the things that people ask about all the time. But the reality is, there isn't a one-to-one relationship between how often a question is asked and how likely someone is to spend money on this solution. I learned this the hard way myself, one of the many mistakes I made in business, in the orchid care market. When I was early in the orchid care market and I was doing my research, I found that one of the most frequently asked questions in the orchid market that people ask over and over and over again, any guesses on what it is? It's about watering. People ask, how to water? When do I water? How much water? Where to water? Water, water, water. It's a thing that people ask all the time. So I said, you know what? This has got to be easy. Ask people what they want and give it to them. So I'm going to create a guide on how to water your orchid step by step. It was a slam dunk, right? It was the most frequently asked question inside the market. So I asked people what they wanted. I delivered a result and promptly sold 0 copies. But then when I went back to my research and I looked, I said, what did I miss? How did I get this so wrong? Like Lego, I went back to the drawing board and I paid attention to a different type of response. Instead, I saw a minority of people who, instead of saying their biggest challenge was water, how to water, when to water, their responses, their answers sounded a little something like this. It would sound like, Ryan, my biggest challenge, my biggest problem is repotting my orchid. You see, every time I try to repot my plant, I manage to kill the dang thing. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm watering the orchid, I'm washing my hands, I'm using gloves, I'm not using porcelain pots because I know the porcelain in porcelain pots, it's toxic to orchid roots, and yet every single time I manage to kill my dang plant. What am I doing wrong? Now compare that response to the other type of response I mentioned just a moment ago. Water, how to water, when to water. Now, if you were to create a product that solves one of those two problems, one of those two challenges, which person, the watering person or the repotting person, do you think is more likely to spend money to solve the problem? Well, if you guessed repotting, your answer is right. See, when I shifted my attention to that segment and that segment alone of the market, that's when everything shifted. When I shared my graph, where I went from $370 in my first month to making over $24,000 a month in my business, that was the shift that I made. I focused on what we call the hyper-responsive segment of the market. Hyper-responsive segment of the market. What does that market look like? Who is that market? Well, the hyper-responsive segment of the market, if we were to draw this out as a graph, looks like this. If we have a y-axis and an x-axis like this, and on the y-axis we plot the letter D to stand for depth of response, and in the x-axis we plot the letter F for frequency of response. What you're specifically focusing on is this segment of the market that sits right up here. The segment of the market that gives you those deep, passionate, detailed responses like the one that I shared with you in the orchid market, the person who was struggling with repotting their plant. This is where you want to spend your attention. And yet where most people spend their attention is down here. They spend their attention on the most frequently asked questions. It's the myth of the FAQ. All right, so this is the premise. This is the concept. Are you following me? Is this making sense? The fact that you're looking for the hyper-responsive segment of your market, it's what we call the profit pools that exist in your market. These are the subgroups of people in your market who will spend money to solve the problems that they are looking to fix. All right, so the question is, how do you identify the hyper-responsive segment? How do you know if a problem within the market you've identified is one that people will spend money to solve? Well, that's where we want to look at the answers to 3 questions. 3 specific questions. The questions that we want to ask are as follows. I'm going to write these down. So, 3 questions that you want to ask, that you want to get the answer to. I want to make that a little bit bolder. 3 questions that you want to know the answer to in your market. Let's cover them. 3 questions to ask. All right, 3 questions to ask. And let's put them like this. Draw this like that. And we'll go here. We'll go question 1, question 2, question 3. All right, 3 questions that you want to ask. First question that you want to know the answer to is, what is the single biggest challenge that this person is struggling with and trying to solve in their market? So what we call the biggest challenge question. Biggest challenge is question number 1. Okay. And I'll highlight this I'll use this color right here, make it like this. All right, biggest challenge. It's question number 1. Now, when you've identified this, what you're looking for are people who are leaving the longest, most detailed, most passionate answers, like that orchid example I shared with you just a moment ago. When people pour their heart out, when people just express their pain, when they express embarrassment, when they put themselves out there and say, oh my gosh, I've spent so much time and energy and effort to trying to solve this and I cannot get a solution. That is what you are looking for evidence of in your market. Now, when you couple that with the next two questions, you're going to see how this all comes together. Because knowing that someone has a big, hairy, scary problem that they're looking to solve, that's the first step in the process, but we want to know two other pieces of information. We also want to know what are the challenges that people have spent a disproportionate amount of time trying to solve. Because all things being equal, when someone has spent a lot of time trying to solve something, they are more likely to pay for a solution than someone who ran into this problem 3 minutes ago and did one tiny little search on Google and has literally just started in their process. Because after all, if people can find the answer to their problem in just a few minutes, with just a little effort, and almost no time at all, why would they spend any money to solve the problem? So we're looking for evidence that the challenge someone's running into is something that they've spent a lot of time trying to solve. And last but not least, we're looking for a challenge that people have spent a disproportionate amount of money trying to solve. All things being equal, if someone has spent money trying to solve a problem, they are more likely than someone who has never spent any money in that area of their life to spend more money to try to solve that problem. Think about in your own life. Think about the things that you've tried to solve, the problems that you've tried to find a solution to, the areas of your life that you've invested in. If you think about a hobby that you have invested heavily in, for example, if you are in the guitar market and you are a huge guitar fan, chances are you own more than one guitar, right? If you are in the golf market and you've invested in this hobby, chances are you've got an entire bag of clubs in your garage right now, and you've spent probably a fortune on playing golf, on golf tours, golf equipment, golf instruction, and all the things that you've spent in that space. Now, who is more likely to spend money? Person who has already spent hundreds or thousands of dollars in this area of their life, or the person who's never spent a single penny? We're looking for evidence of people who have spent money to solve this problem. All right. So when we put it all together, we've got these three questions that we want to get the answers to. We want to see what are the problems in our market that people are are articulating as being big, hairy, scary challenges. What are the problems that people are spending a lot of time to solve? And what are the problems that people have demonstrated evidence of spending money to fix? So how do we get the answer to this question? Well, there are two ways. Both of these ways are what we call a deep dive survey. A deep dive survey is if you've got an audience of people, if you've got a list of people, you can just go to your audience and you can ask. It's literally as simple as that. You can go to your customers, you can go to your leads, you can go to your email list, and you can just ask. Now, for those of you who are continuing on and working to build a quiz funnel in your business, one of the most powerful things a quiz funnel gives you is that audience of people that you can just go out to and reach out and ask. Like, for example, the examples that I share with you here on my screen, I think about, for example, Janine Alley. She launched a quiz funnel. In just 16 days, she got over 370 people to take her quiz. She asked those people what they're struggling with and got 3 clients on the back of this quiz in her first 2 weeks. I think of Dr. Tangi Watkins, who did the same thing. She launched a quiz funnel in her market. She got over 5,000 people to take her quiz in less than 30 days. She asked that group of people what they're struggling with, what they needed help with, and she made an offer to them that solved that problem. She made over $20,000 in her first month in business. And this is not just for those of you who are just getting started. This is also for those of you who have large established business. This is Brian Dixon. He created a quiz funnel, got over 100,000 people to take his quiz in just a short amount of time, reached out to them, asked them what they wanted, and was able to build a membership of over 4,000 paying members to join his membership on the back of his quiz. So, for those of you who have a quiz, for those of you who are building a quiz, you are in an incredible situation. But for all of us who are not in that situation, you might be saying to yourself, but what if I don't have a large audience? What if I don't have a quiz? How do I figure out what my quiz should be about in the first place? How do I figure out what is that burning problem in my market that I'm going to solve? Well, in that case, what we're going to do is a different kind of DDS. What I shared with you a moment ago is what we call a deep dive survey, which is what we call a DDS. I'll write that down for you. So we have a deep dive survey that looks like this. Deep dive survey, where you're asking these questions of your audience, presuming you have an audience. But if you don't have an audience, and what I shared with you just a moment was the first variety, what we call a classic DDS, classic deep dive survey. Classic deep dive survey is where you got a list of people, you ask them what they want, you give it to them. If you don't have that audience of people, when you're starting from scratch like we all do, instead of doing a classic DDS, to figure out what your quiz is going to be about in the first place so you can build that list of people, we do what's called a stealth DDS. Now, stealth DDS is a little bit different. Stealth DDS is where we identify communities of people online in places like forums, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Quora topics, meetup groups, and similar places. And we go inside those groups and we identify what are the problems, struggles, challenges, embarrassing situations, pain, that people are naturally expressing without us even having to ask. In other words, where is the opportunity that exists right here, right now, without even probing for more information? And what I want to do now is I want to take you through this process and show you how to use the 3 groups that you identified yesterday to identify the biggest opportunities, the biggest unmet need that exists right here, right now in your market, so that you can build your quiz funnel to solve that need and build your business on the back of that quiz. Just like the examples I shared with you, Janine generating her first 3 sales in less than 2 weeks, and Dr. Tanji generating over $20,000 in less than 30 days, and Brian getting over 4,000 members of his membership, all on the back of his quiz. Remember when I told you that everything that we're doing is building to that moment in time? Well, today things get real. So let me take you inside the process. Let's do this together. We'll go through a couple examples over my shoulder to show you exactly how you do this. So first thing that I want to do is let's go to Google. So let's check this out. This is the process. Bring this out. So what you want to do, and I'm going to start with Google because I noticed that a lot of you are using Google to identify your group. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Google and you're going to go back to that group that you identified yesterday, the groups that you identified yesterday, and we're going to type in Orchid Board, which was one of my groups that I identified. It's right here. And let's take a look at this process in action. So specifically what we're looking for here, remember, we're looking for a few things. We're looking for evidence that certain problems already exist. We're looking for evidence that there are people already inside the community, hyper-responsive people inside the community looking to solve a specific problem. Now, we don't know what that problem is. We've got to figure it out. So we're on a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes mission here where we're looking for clues. So first thing that I want to do is I want to go into the most active conversations. Because remember we looked at yesterday and we said we want to look at active conversations. Where are people actively having issues? What are the conversations that are taking place right now? Where are people naturally gravitating? What are the topics, the areas that people most need help with right now? Well, the first thing we want to do is go where the activity is. Go where people are already at. Remember, what do you need in business? A starving crowd. Let's find that starving crowd. All right, when I look at this right here, I see this group right here, beginner discussion. That's pretty big. Awesome. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of threads. And you can look here and you get some immediate clues when you look at this. Look at some of these threads based on the number of replies, the number of views. Take a look. Represent some of probably the most active issues. So you can see here, sticky, what orchids in your collection getting a winter rest? So that's a topic that people want to dive deep into. Orchids with a strong scent. 306 replies. So these are all candidates for what we might want to look for. But what I'm really interested in is using the search feature. So check this out. So notice here in this forum, there's this little button. It's a little bit hard to find sometimes when you're in these forums, but I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. You want to look for the search feature. So when I click on this search feature right here, what I'm now able to do is I can search for certain keywords. I can type in certain words and identify where these conversations are taking place. So there's certain words that I'm looking for. Remember, the first thing that we're looking for are 3 questions to ask. If we go to our iPad, what is it right here? If you look on the screen, what are we looking for? We're looking for biggest challenge. So let's begin by typing the word challenge. If we go back to our forum challenge, now what I'm specifically looking for, I'm going to type the number 11 just to prove that I'm not a robot. Okay, so number 11, and I want to find threads that have at least 10 replies, right? I want to find something where there's activity. I don't want to find something where someone writes something and it's like a ghost town. I want to find where there's actual conversation taking place. So let's take a look. Click search now, and let's see. This is where the hyper responsive conversations are taking place. So take a look. All right, so here we go. Any hope for my phal with no leaves? That's Phalaenopsis, which is a type of orchid. So you can see here, any hope for my phal with no leaves? All right, looking for a Cattleya recommendation. I'm looking for emotionally charged language. So this is what got you hooked on orchids. That could be interesting. Got my catasetum today, now what? So this person has no idea what to do. They got a brand new orchid and they have no idea what to do. Let's take a look at this one right here. So this person's looking for epiphytes and climate control. Here we go. I think one of my favorite phals has been ruined. Look at that emotionally charged language right here. Let's take a look at this one. Indoor setup for Vandaceous and highlight plants. So lighting, that's something right there. Humidity trays. Here we go. This is a good one. Leaves slowly turning yellow and dropping. Okay, great. Shipping, so probably people getting orchids shipped, they're having issues. Is it too late to repot these catasetums? All right, let's take a look here. This is a great one. Miltonopsis advice, please, I am trapped. So let's take a look at this one right here. So you can see all these emotionally charged conversations. Let's see what they look like. Holy smokes, wholly hyper responsive. All right, when you see a hyper responsive person, you will know it. They are going to scream from the mountaintops, hyper responsive. Look at this right here. I have a Phalaenopsis that I badly mistreated. I'd like to learn what I did wrong so I can do better next time. I'd also like to get tips or advice whether I can still save this little zombie. By the way, for those of you who are copywriters, for those of you who want to learn where the language comes from when you're writing and creating your quiz funnel, when you're writing your marketing, when you're doing your emails, this is where all the copy comes from, guys. It comes right from these places right here. Imagine this. Have a Phalaenopsis that's been badly mistreated. Imagine this if this were like a Facebook post. Do you have a Phalaenopsis that's been badly mistreated? Is it beyond saving? Can you still save that little zombie? Try to find out what you did wrong this time so you can do better next time. Take the quiz to find out now. Imagine if this person saw a quiz that opened up with that copy. You think they're going to click on it? Chances are, based on the data that we have, this person here, any hope for my phal with no leaves? That was one of the early ones. Any help with my phal with no leaves? 968 other people would probably click on that quiz as well. So we're taking all the guesswork out of the process. Let's look at this one right here. I got my catasetum today, now what? You can even feel it, right? Like this person right here. Any hope for my phal with no leaves? This person is more hyper-responsive than this one right here. Right? Let's take a look at this one right here. I think one of my favorite phals has been ruined. You can see here a lot of responses on this one. Not quite as hyper responsive, but look at all the great responses that we have on this person right here. What's this one? My leaves are slowly turning yellow and dropping. Oh gosh, another great hyper-responsive person. So you can see here all the answers. So these are the types of topics that you're looking for in your market, right? Now you can compare that to something that's far less hyper-responsive, where you're not getting any replies or any views. All right, so that was the word challenge. We can do all sorts of variations on the word challenge. We can do words like struggle. All right, let's type in the word struggle. I got to type in 11. Let's look for posts with at least 10 replies. All right, let's take a look here. Struggle. Okay, good. Let's see. Fruits and veggies, terrarium growing experiments, dirty coconuts, plant porn. Tetrapus striped fowl, sticky Vanda's glass vases. So I'm not seeing the type of categories that I might want to see on that word struggle. So you're not always going to hit it with every single word that you look for. Let's take a look at another word. We might look at frustrated. Frustrated. All right, entire posts. Let's take a look about these plants. Orchids. I want to make sure I'm not a robot typing in too many search terms. Search now, frustrated. Let's see. What kind of frustration do we have? Okay, the joke there, persistent mold. Here we go. Help, persisting mold in all repotted Phalaenopsis and Cattleya. All right, let's take a look at this right here. So, oh, here we go. Look at this. So this person here is super hyper responsive, right? So I'm a new orchid grower. I've got a couple of phals and Cattleyas. I'm having mold problems on both, right? Imagine the quiz. Take this quiz to find out now. What's killing your orchid? Is it mold or something else? Take this quiz to figure out what might be making your orchid sick right now. You're going to get everyone in this forum taking that quiz. So see how this starts to identify the different challenges and problems that we have in our market. Let's take a look at one or two other examples. So if we come back to me for just a second, let's go to, I know what a lot of people, in addition to using Google to find forums, a lot of you are also using Facebook. So let's take a look at what this looks like in Facebook. Bear with me 1 second as I pull up the right thread. I'm going to go to facebook.com. Okay, good. So let's do this. Let's take a look at, for example, a random market. So this was a hobby market. So these were some of the markets we looked at yesterday: coding Python, homestead, sustainable living. I want to do a B2B market. I want to do a market in a business. So let's take a look at a topic I saw come through in the community recently, which is real estate investors. So let's take a look at real estate investing or real estate investors. So let's see. Let's do this. Let's look for groups, because we want to look for groups. Once again, I want to join a public group. Okay, so these are all public. That's good. I don't want to have to wait for to be approved. You can wait to get approved into a private group. These are all public. This one has 100 posts a day. Let's take a look at this one right here, Real Estate Investor Network. Let's just go to that one and see what we got. All right, so the way you do the same search in Facebook is you click this little magnifying glass here, just like Sherlock Holmes, and we want to search the group for a specific keyword. So let's start with the word challenge. Right, so let's type the word challenge. We'll start there. And you can do, most recent, posts you've seen. You can do date posted. You can filter this by a lot of things. But what I'm looking for are conversation threads that have a lot of comments. So here we go. Let's see this one right here. Your real estate and family challenge is a challenge, and we salute you here today. So we can see what kind of conversations happening right here. Let's take a look. Sometimes the groups themselves will actually. There'll be prompts to, okay, here we go. How are all of our mompreneurs doing? Managing your families and your real estate is a challenge, and we salute you here today. So let's take a look at this. 26 replies, right? So when I look at this market right here, in the real estate market, clearly this has struck a nerve. You can see here, there's a lot of people like, I love that I can homeschool my boys ages 11 and under while showing them what I do, help me demo, paint, and mow the holding. So, there's clearly an opportunity, a niche within the real estate investor space for mompreneurs. I like this one, nanopreneurs, and all these different examples. So we might have an opportunity here to serve this specific segment of the market. We could build an entire business around this. Real estate for mompreneurs. What type of real estate is right for you? Take the quiz to find out now. Are you a mompreneur looking to get into the real estate market? Take this quiz to find out what path is right for you if you're just getting started. So you can see here how this is going to identify where the opportunities are in our market. Let's keep looking at a few more examples. So if I go back to here, we can just type in other words, right? So I can type in words like frustrated, right? So that was another word that I always like to type in. Frustrated. Let's take a look. So are you thinking about real estate and frustrated? I remember that feeling when I got started. So this guy's telling his story. You got to be careful. You want to make sure that you're not looking at marketing posts, like people who are promoting their services. You're looking for natural consumer language, natural consumer language that's already there. This is how you do what we call the stealth DDS. It's stealth because you're asking questions using the search bar. You don't even have to interact with anybody. You don't even have to know anybody in your market. You don't even have to have any one-on-one conversations. It's the first step in the process. So I'm looking at frustrated, seeing if there's anything that's come through. I'm looking again for kind of posts that have a lot of comments, a lot of activity. Let's see. Oh, this one right here. What's the riskiest deals and moves in real estate? Right here. So we'll look at some of the pain points that people have had, probably where they've taken risks and they've hadn't succeed. Here we go right here. Look at this person right here. So I may have some enemies here, but firmly believe beginners should not get into extensive rehab projects. That could be a topic right there. So, helping people with rehab projects in real estate. Is rehab right for you? Take the quiz to find out now. How ready are you to take on your first rehab project? Take the quiz to find out right now. There's so many different angles that we can see. I mean, these quizzes start writing themselves as we start identifying these opportunities. So again, just to take a step back, what we're doing here, remember, is the following. We first started, right, with this in this process where we identified the 5 market must-haves. We're looking for a market that checks off all these boxes. Boom. Then we're finding where are these people in this market hanging out online, so that we can identify the answers to these questions. What are the things that people have had challenges with? What have they spent a lot of time on? Where have they spent a lot of money? And this is right here. You can see it with this hyper-responsive response. This person here has probably spent a lot of money on rehab projects. Like right here, don't get me wrong, I love flips. I've done dozens upon dozens, and I've made a ton, but I also don't know what it feels like to lose $100,000 on a deal. That's an expensive lesson that this person has learned. So that's an example of spending both a lot of time, dozens and dozens upon markets, and 10 years, and losing $100,000 on a deal. So rehab projects right there. For those of you in real estate, I mean, I'm doing the work for you right now, giving you the answers. So you can take a look right there. Let's do a couple more words that I like to search for. So another one, this is one of my secret ones. I like to type in the word embarrass. Because when someone expresses their embarrassment and they put themselves out there, there is a tremendous amount of oftentimes shame and guilt that people feel. This is emotionally charged language. Let's take a look. All right, right here. Analysis paralysis. I'm embarrassed to admit this kept me on the sidelines for far too long. Anyone else feel this way? Well, you struck a chord. Look at that. 22 comments. Let's take a look at what this one says right here. Oh my gosh. 10 years, 22, 38, thought I made it enough. Yes, that's why I started using PropStream. You can see here it's called fear, guilty. I'm waiting for the perfect time to get started. Yeah, it's the same thing with us guys here. For those of you who are looking for that perfect time to get started with your quiz, with your business, it ain't ever going to happen. Like if you're waiting for that perfect time to start, it just is never going to happen. There's never a perfect time to get started. So you can see here, struck a chord with this market on this idea of analysis paralysis. Struggling with analysis paralysis? Take this quiz to find out what's holding you back from making that first move. Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it something that you're struggling with beneath the surface? Take the quiz to find out now, right? So, I mean, this stuff writes itself. It's so powerful. All right, I want to show you one more. In another market, we looked at a hobby market. In the orchid care space, we looked at what we call a wealth market, helping people make or save money in the real estate space. I'll do one more. We'll do this one in the health space. So for those of you in a health-related market. Now, in case you missed it, I posted a little something earlier here inside the community, and it was a little bit of a kick in the butt. And I shared right here, sometimes you need to push through the pain. Listen, today, guys, I had an end-to-end day, and I started with meetings at 7 in the morning. I did not feel like exercising and had very little time. But what I've learned is that you can always find 10 minutes. You can always make time. And today, for me, I was able to hit a 10-minute sprint personal best. That's on my exercise bike. I ride what's called a Peloton. You've probably heard it before. Landing at number 6 on a ride with 2,200 riders, top 0.27%. Now, the reason why I'm sharing that with you is not to brag. The moral of the story is this. There are 2 types of people in this world. There are people who make excuses, and there are people who make things happen. And you get to decide what type of person you are going to be. And this is me being a little bit of a brutal bastard, giving you that kick in the butt. And P.S., have you gotten your homework done for today? Because it only takes 10 minutes. Remember, two types of people: people who make excuses and people who make things happen. Now, I share this with you because there's a community that I am part of myself online, and it's a community of other people who ride on this exercise bike, and I'm showing you the screen here, the touch screen of this. This is me here in the other room riding my bike. These are my results, and it's called Peloton. So if we go to the search bar and we type in Peloton, we can look at the Peloton groups, and I want to specifically look for the official Peloton member page, which I am a member of. Let's visit the group. And once again, we can go right here. And by the way, this is an incredibly active group. Look at this, 426,000 members. And if I go to the search bar here and I type in the word, for example, frustrated, let's see what we got. Frustrated, look here. I'm so frustrated, mostly with myself. I'm so frustrated. Is anybody completely frustrated? This is the type of emotionally charged language that you are looking for in your market. 36 comments, 94 comments. Look at this. I'm so frustrated, mostly with myself. Let's take a look at this person here. What did they have to say? I'm so frustrated with myself. With all the rushing about to take a family vacation, I didn't ride last week. This wouldn't be a big deal except I lost a 90-week streak. So on the Peloton, you have a streak, so how many weeks you've been on the bike in a row. If I ask nicely, would they explain reminders to keeping the streak alive? So this person is so upset with themselves about this. And so really this is about consistency, about accountability. So this is a specific problem that is clearly a hot button in this market that we could potentially solve. Let's take a look at this one right here. This person is frustrated with what ranked, it's not about being ranked high on the leaderboard, strictly based on calibration. I know these are not the same rides, blah, 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 blah. First piece of plastic, calibrate the bike was useless. See this picture of the stats, what gives. So this person's really frustrated with the fact that their calibration in the bike is not working. You can see here 44 people responding to that. Again, let's take a look at one more using a word like embarrassed. Is this helpful, by the way? Let me know in the comments if you're finding this helpful, if you're finding it helpful seeing the process. Look at this right here. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I weigh 260 pounds. 452 comments. Let's take a look at what this conversation is right here. I'm not experienced. I don't even know how to ride. I have a lot of upper body strength and limber. I'm trying to use the bike and it hurts so badly I can't even sit through a 20-minute beginner class. Copyrights itself. Have you tried riding an exercise bike and has your butt hurt so badly that you can't even sit through a 20-minute beginner class? Well, take this quiz to find out what type of alternative exercise might be right for you. This quiz will help identify what exercise is right for you, even if you're embarrassed to say that you weigh way more than you care to admit publicly. You've been working on your weight and you've tried things like the Peloton and treadmills and other things. Take this quiz to find out what type of exercise is right for you. Do you think if we created that quiz that we would strike a chord with this market right here? Guys, this is the process. This is how you set yourself up for success. This is how you create a quiz that's guaranteed to resonate with your market, to be a winner right out of the gate. This is exactly the same process when I share with you people like Janine, who out of the gate, first quiz, 370 leads, starting from scratch. Dr. Tangi Watkins, 5,000 leads in less than 30 days. Brian Dixon, 100,000 leads right out of the gate. First quiz, never had experience doing this ever before because they're following this process. And gosh, you got a head start because you joined in this challenge this week. You got a lot of momentum. You've got everything that you need. You've got the market chosen. You've got the groups online where these people are hanging out. And now you're figuring out what people need help with and the exact language and copy that you're going to use to give it to them. Holy smokes, guys. I mean, look you're off to the races. I hope you're as excited about this as I am because I can see for so many of you, this is a moment, this is a day where you are going to look back on a few weeks from now, a few months from now, and you're going to say, this is where it changed. This is where everything began. This is where it clicked, where the light bulb went off above your head and you said, aha. Instead of trying to guess, instead of trying to figuring this out on my own, I'm just going to use the infinite wisdom of my market to tell me exactly what they want. And then all I'm going to do is give it to them. It all starts today. All right. I hope you're as excited about this as I am. I always get so excited about this because I see so much opportunity for you. Now let's talk about your homework. Where you go from here. What's the next step? So if you bear with me 1 second, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next. By the way, is this helpful? Are you excited? Can I get some heck yeahs inside the comment thread? If you're like, oh my gosh, mind blown, ready to go. This is amazing. This is so good. If you're ready, as excited as I am, let me know inside the comments. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get to your homework now. And your homework is as follows. Actually, before I get to your homework, as you're thinking about the problems you're identifying in your market, okay, your homework is going to be as follows. Your homework tonight is to identify the top 3 hyper-responsive challenges that you identify in your market. 3 challenges. That's it. Go through the process that I just went through. Go through the groups you've identified, the forums, the communities online, and do that search. And by the way, if you're looking for additional words to search, because I just picked a couple of them, go to thesaurus.com and you can type in words like challenge, and you can see other ideas. So objection, protest, test, threat, claiming, confrontation, demanding. Some of these are some big words that I don't know that people are going to be using. What about a word like frustrated? Right? So a crab, cramp, crimp, defeated. I feel so defeated. Resentful, ungratified. Words like pain. I've struggled with pain. All the pain words that people might have. We can look at a word like struggle is another great word. So you can come up with all these other additional words that you can search for that your market might use that are different or unique to your particular niche. All right, so your goal is to identify 3 problems, the top 3 problems in your market. And you're going to use the hashtag MyWhat. MyWhat, because this is what you're going to focus on helping people solve through your quiz funnel. See how it's all building? How it's all connected together? Type in MyWhat with the hashtag and let us know what your top 3 problems, top 3 challenges are in your market. All right, you want to make sure that your problem that you pick is solvable with a single product. Remember, billion-dollar problems require billion-dollar budgets. If you are Bill Gates, by all means, pick a billion-dollar problem. But your big goal, your vision might be to transform the lives of 1.3 million people or whatever it may be, but you gotta start with one person. It's all fine and good to have those big dreams, but unless you've got a billion-dollar budget, if you're like most of us, you're bootstrapping your business, you're relying on savings, you're relying on your credit cards, you're investing in yourself, you're doing it the old-fashioned way, then you've got to pick a problem that you've got the resources to solve. So pick something that's specific and small enough that you can solve it with a single product. The reason why I didn't go into the gardening market and create a product that was for all types of plants, from tomatoes to sunflowers to herbs to fruits and vegetables and everything in between, is because I realized it was too big of a problem to solve. So I picked one thing. I picked orchids, because that's something that I can get my arms around. So make sure that you pick a topic, a challenge that's solvable with a single product. That's number 1. Number 2, it should be specific. It is not specific enough to say, I'm going to help people get healthy. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean lose weight? Does it mean reduce stress? Does it mean get better sleep at night? Does it mean improve their skin? Does it mean improve their gut health? What does healthy actually mean? You got to be specific. In the orchid market, it could be, is your orchid sick or savable? Take the quiz to find out now, right? Is your orchid sick and dying and beyond repair, or is it something that you can do and fix? Pick a problem that's specific. You're looking once again at depth of response. Remember the myth of the FAQ on our screen right here. Frequency of response right here. Depth of response is more important than frequency of response. Don't get hung up with the finding things that you see 1,000 times. The myth of the FAQ. Remember Lego. Remember watering in the orchid market. You're looking for those deep, passionate responses, the hyper-responsives. And last but not least, look for the most heated, the most active threads. If someone posts a problem and they say, gosh, is anybody else struggling with this? And there are 500 comments after that, that means that you found an opportunity, you found a profit pool inside of this market. And that is precisely what you're looking for. So, homework tonight. Number 1, post the top 3 challenges that you identify in your market. Use the hashtag MyWhat. That's thing number 1. Number 2, if you haven't done so already, you want to catch up on yesterday's sessions. You want to catch up on all the sessions that you've missed out on. And if you bear with me 1 second, I'm going to go to where those are. Again, you're going to go to the Quiz Funnel community, and at the very top of the screen, you can catch up on everything that you missed that's built to this right here by going to the guides link right here. Go to guides, and you'll see here, welcome day 1, day 2, day 3. Day 4 will be loaded soon, so you can rewatch this session right here. So catch up on anything that you've missed. That's thing number 2. Thing number 3, if we stay on me for just a minute, is if you've got a question, an unanswered question, something that you'd love to go deeper on everything that we've covered up until this point. Don't go off in some, weird tangent or anything like that. Stay focused on what we're focusing on here. There's a process to this. Remember, I've taken thousands of entrepreneurs to the summit of Mount Everest. I know how to get to the top of the mountain. I know how to get you safely and soundly to the top. I know how to get you to where you want to go. Stick with the process. This is the way. I can get you there. You just have to do the work alongside me. So stick with what we're focusing on. But if you've got a question on anything that we've covered up until this point, I decided that we're going to do a bonus session. I'm going to do a bonus session because I'm so committed to you guys. We're going to do a bonus session on Saturday this weekend. And we have a post inside the announcements section of the group that says right here, got questions? Post your challenge questions below, and I'll answer them in Saturday's Q&A call. So if you've got a question or challenge that you're struggling with as it relates to this challenge that we're in right now, post it below, and I'll try to cover as many as I possibly can. This is going to be a special bonus session on Saturday, and it's going to be the session that bridges this challenge to the Quiz Funnel Workshop, which kicks off next week. So that's the third thing. And by the way, you can find that when you go to Quiz Funnel Community inside of Facebook. Let me see if I can just fix this. Quiz Funnel Community, delete, enter. And what you're looking for is when you do that, you'll see right here, this is the view that you'll see. Look for announcements right here. Click on announcements, and you'll see a few announcements like where we are right now, and my Peloton post here, and your questions. So you got a question, do that after this training, after this call is over. So that's thing number 3. And then last but not least, if you haven't done so already, if we come to me, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you go to that link that I've shared with you, chooseaskbill.com/text. chooseaskbill.com/text. You go to that link, and what I'll do is, number 1, my notes from today, if we go here on my screen, I'll text you these notes. So you'll have all these notes. You'll have everything nice and neat, organized, and all my notes from today. I'm also going to send you a text with 101 profitable niches. So if you're still at that point where you're like struggling to find groups online, or you're struggling to pick your market, I'm going to encourage you to just pick one off the list. Remember, your first business is not going to be your last. Your first quiz is not going to be your last. Pick a practice business and start. So that way you can stick along, you can keep up with the process, and you can keep going through it. So those are the things you want to do. So once again, just to recap, your list. Number 1, post your top 3 challenges that you identify from the groups that you've joined and that you found. That's number 1. Number 2, watch yesterday's training and anything else that you've missed and catch up to where we are now. That's number 2. Number 3, if you've got a question that you'd like me to cover, I'm going to be doing a special bonus Q&A session on Saturday this week. Post it in that thread so you can get your question answered. And number 4, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you join that chooseaskbill.com/text thread. And if you've got a friend, by the way, or like your sister or your brother, or you've got a child, an adult child that you'd love to invite into this workshop, invite them. Just use the link chooseaskbill.com. Invite them to this challenge so that they can join and participate with us. Think about 3 people in your life that could benefit from this information. Maybe it's colleagues that you work with who also have a dream of starting their own business. Maybe it's people on your team. You can invite people on your team if you have an existing business. Maybe it's a neighbor, a friend, someone who's part of your church, part of your community, maybe a fellow classmate of yours if you're going through school or grad school right now. It could be a friend, a family member, whoever. Think of 3 people that you could invite to this challenge. Shoot them a quick text message. Shoot them a quick email saying, I'm doing this thing right now. It's really, really cool. I think you'll love it. Here's the link, chooseaskbill.com. So invite them to join us here inside the group. All right, I know this has been a long session, but I didn't want to shortchange you. We got one final order of business, the way I love to end every single one of our sessions, and that is to end with our takeaways. Biggest takeaways of the day. So head on over to the chat thread inside the group. Use the word takeaway in all caps. Put it in square brackets so it's nice and big and easy to see. And take a moment to share what's been your single biggest takeaway from today's session here today. Post it in the chat. Post it in the comments. Remember, the more you participate, the more you've got a chance to win. And you got to be here live in order to take advantage of this. So go ahead and do that now. I want to take a moment to read some of our biggest takeaways from this session. This is great. Denise says, the second part of the quiz funnel training going to be in this Facebook group. We're going to talk all about it. It's going to be a little different, but as long as you're here, you'll get notified of all the good stuff. Robert says, takeaway, there's a live Q&A session happening on Saturday. This is awesome. Joyce says, just keep swimming. Takeaway says, Ryan is a marketing genius and a super nice guy. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the kind words, Romina. Thank you so much. Carol says, absolutely. Takeaway is to focus, says Diane. Sri says, just keep swimming. Love it. Take one step and put it in front of the other. Let the online activity show you the pain point, says Scott. Debbie says, emotionally charged language. Absolutely. Becky says, depth over frequency. Simone says, how to identify hyper-responsiveness to find a single product. Right here, Laura says, pick the emotional, organic, active conversation. Greg says, stealth DDS doesn't need to have an existing audience. Larry says, takeaway, where is the key to your what? Yes, sir, I love it. Cass says, love this. This is great. So helpful. I need to find the solution to this. Bob says, focus on depth, not frequency. Diane says, I am starting to get all this on a deeper level than ever before. Eric says, awesome information and how this is great. Denise says, how possible it is to get started and get going. Takeaway, start doesn't have to be perfect. Takeaway, totally says stealth DDS. Let's see. Steven says, way to research your identified market, find the challenges and problems. Lorna says, really dig down in the pain point. Carson says, analyze groups for emotional triggers. Lorna says, I missed that one. Corky says, start with a practice quiz. Adrian says, emotionally charged language. Just keep swimming. Yvonne says, lots of them, but if I had to choose, survey questions, depth over frequency. Yvette says, emotionally charged language as well. Eugenia, hyper-responsive is where you find the most important info about your market. Angie says, the FAQ myth. And that's what Jasmine says as well. Vathani says, takeaway, ways to ID the hyper-responsives. Mike says, the gold is in the hyper-responsive. Daniel says, use people's language. Adrian says, keywords. Rosemary says, do you ever need to take a breath? No, I just exhale. There's no inhale over here. Kathy says, remind me, what is a stealth DDS? Mary says, thank you. Catherine says, the importance of stealth DDS and look for hyper-responses. Hey, great to see you here, by the way, Catherine. EJ says, just need a starving crowd. Salvador says, find the challenges and solve them without much time or money. Adrian says, keywords, take away your first business isn't your last. And Denise says, thank you so much for all you're doing for us, and I won't let your precious air go to waste. Action, action, action. I love it. All right, guys, you know what you need to do. You got all the good stuff. You're armed with the process. You know what you need to do from here. Now's the time to go to work. Get your homework done. Get it done before we kick things off tomorrow, because tomorrow we pick up where we've left off and everything's going to all start to come together. You're going to start to see how everything that we've done up to this point, all the work that we've done, has now geared you up to give you all the raw material, all the foundational pieces, so that you can create, construct, and come up with your very first quiz, so that you can get leads and customers and sales and income for your business. It's all building to this moment. I cannot wait. So be here, same time, same channel. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here in the community. If you got a question in the meantime, post it in the Q&A thread. I can't wait to do that. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your evening. Hey, Bradley, why don't you come in here and say hello real quick, my friend? Brad, you want to come in and say hi real quick? My boys just got home, literally just got home from camp. Brad, you want to come in real quick? Say hi? Here we go. Okay, you want to say hi to everyone? So Brad just got back from art camp, so he's going to say, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi.
Look at the camera. Say hey.
Hi.
Say, have a great rest of your day.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, guys, bye. I'm going to play with this guy. Have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. See ya.